Welcome once again to the Nerdy Basement. My name is John Ramos, and I'm here with Liana Kangas and Scott Bryan Wilson, the creators of True Cult, if I'm not mistaken, is the name of the comic book, right?
Yes.
You got it.
Awesome. Yeah, I had to look for other interviews to see what's the comic book's actual title, because I was like all the time saying like TRVE KVLT every time writing down like on the questions and everything. I was like, well, okay, I have to see what's the actual name of the of the comic book. So going to kick out with everything. I hope you guys are doing amazing today. And my first question to both of you, actually, what is True Cult's meaning, and what's the behind the meaning of the name of the comic book?
Yeah, so the book is about a loser working in a sort of career in fast food who is fed up with things, and he ends up pulling off this stupendous criminal heist that he should in no way be able to pull off. And one of the things he steals in the heist is a vinyl record. And the name is we've been asked about this a lot. The name is actually just it's kind of a sarcastic idiom used in like the black metal circles. It's kind of taking the piss about who's the most underground, and that's sort of what the name means. It's like joking, like you're more underground than someone else. You're truer, but you spell it with a V because you're more underground, right? So it's a really confusing way of explaining that, but that's basically what it is. It's just a sarcastic title, but because True Cult often is in reference to the color of the vinyl being black, that's just where the name came from. Yeah.
Okay,
and that explanation has surely made everyone want to come read the comic now.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say also we're the most True Cult comics, so you have to pick it up, right? Like the most underground.
No, yeah, I actually I enjoyed the first issue. It was super fun. I just had to all the time. I was like, even with the cover art, I could see like little nods of like what we're going to expect like in future issues, right? So, and then not only that, all the references and little things that you can notice while you're reading each panel of the comic book. So it's really amazing what you guys have like brought to us, to the comic book fans, right? And people that want to start like their own comic book collection. So my going forward further with that, so True Cult, how was this general question for both of you? How was the creative process from the idea, the conception, the planning, the outlining, and ultimately the publication of this comic book? Because I did a little research, and I did see that there was a campaign on 2020. I think it was in Kickstarter for this comic book. So how from that became from what it's now?
Yeah, I think Scott and I met a while back in Jersey at a Comic-Con, and we connected, and we were talking about possibly working together and collaborating at some point. And we ended up doing a short anthology called The Good Fight, and we really enjoyed working together. So I, like Scott had a couple pitches all ready to go, and I had mentioned something like I really love heist stuff because Ocean's 11 is one of my favorite movies. And he was like, I have something. And so he's like, let me kind of work with it real quick and send it over. So he sent it over. And I think that was, what was that, 2018?
2018. Mm-hmm.
2018, yeah. And so when I was finishing up my book, like I started doing like these small illustrations, like based off of the pitch that he sent. And we would have like calls and talk about like, I was like, hey, what if we changed this character to like slightly younger, or like, what if we did this? And it started like kind of compounding from there. And all of a sudden we ended up having like 5 pitch pages, which we pitched around. And it actually got like soft greenlit at a different publisher. but the pandemic happened. So we kind of were like, well, what do we do? And so Scott actually said this recently, and maybe if you want to take it from here, Scott, but we were like, kind of like, we wanted to work on it anyway, you know, with or without having a publisher pick it up. So
yeah, we were like, well, you know, we're going to make this book no matter what. Even if we don't have a publisher, even if we don't have any readers, we're going to make it no matter what. So even if we just print it ourselves and sell it online or sell it at shows or whatever, or sell it out of the trunk of the car, like that's what we're going to do. So we just started making the book, and we just said, you know, this way we have total creative freedom to do whatever we want. And then we just said, well, we could also just do a Kickstarter, have sort of a low goal, so there's no pressure, and just make the book, you know, because we knew we could get a little bit of interest from people, you know, just from having at the time. Well, I mean, I still don't have a huge fan base, but Liana had a small fan base now. It's rapidly growing, but we just did the Kickstarter, and it did really well for us. And IDW actually got in touch with us the day of the Kickstarter launch and was asking about it, and we just kept talking to them throughout the year after that, which is when we were making the book, and because we wanted to finish it. We wanted to finish it our way before we did anything with a publisher, which is what we did. We did 4 issues. Only the first one was in print. The rest we did digitally. And then we signed a deal with IDW somewhere around the 4th issue coming out. And the cool thing is IDW was totally cool to let us finish it and do it our way. And then when we started figuring out the logistics of the book with them, they suggested actually making it a 5-issue miniseries. So we've gone in and we've added 10 or 11 pages that aren't in the original edition. So anybody who read it maybe digitally or whatever, not only can you get it in print, you're going to get extra story pages, and every issue has amazing variant covers as well. So we have a lot of great people drawing covers for us. So
absolutely.
Well,
we got really lucky with those.
Oh, okay. That's amazing. Really. Like I really do love one of the things that I love a lot about the comic book world or community is that there's so many stories out there that are like indie published, or other publishers grab them like that. They can be in the shelves of the local comic book store, and then we can enjoy original stories and whatnot. But I really did enjoy the little, like I said before, everything that I saw in this first issue. It seems great what's going to happen moving forward in the other upcoming issues of this series of True Cult. So I got a very, very interesting question for both of you, because I had to put it in. So what would you order in Good Lord Burger?
Oh, wow.
A Burger Lord?
Yeah.
Well, you know, sorry, go ahead. You go ahead first.
I was gonna say I would definitely do a Holy Trinity, and I would definitely. I think I would ask for the rings. What are those called?
Roll the rings away. Rings. I think.
Roll the
stone away on your rings. Yeah.
And when they ask me if I want the apple pie with the cheese, I would say absolutely not.
Yeah,
with a holy cola, obviously.
The funny thing is, as we were making the issues, we would make up little pieces of the menu, like Holy Cola and the Holy Trinity meal, and there's a few odds and ends mentioned. And then I won't spoil anything, but in a later issue, the entire menu is shown, and you know, that was one of the most fun things for me, was just sitting there and just making up the menu. Because at that point the book was basically done, and I was like one of those where I put a placeholder in the script, like the menu goes here, and then I just kept writing, right? So I was basically done, and I was like, okay, now I got to make up this menu, and that was a lot of fun. And a lot of the food is disgusting, you know. It's gross. The Holy Trinity burger is Holy Trinity because it has beef, chicken, and fish on one sandwich, which is stomach turning. So you know. You know.
So for what I've noticed, you guys were very in call in working together and creating True Cult. So I know that Liana mentioned that Ocean 11 was like one of the films that was like influenced in this comic book series. So was there any other like heist stories or series or shows that you guys implemented in the influence of True Cult?
For me, Good Burger was like a huge like aesthetic influence, as well as like Coen brother movies
Okay.
was a big one, especially like some of the scenes and like layouts were things that Scott and I worked on together, and so it was really cool to have like very cinematic delivery for some of these scenes, and that was a huge influence.
Yeah, so for me, the two main things are like Heat, the Michael Mann movie, the bank robbery scene there, and this French movie called Rafifi that has a very long, completely silent robbery scene in it that's so good. I mean, there's a million of them, but those two, I thought about a lot. Even though ours is nothing like Heat or Rafifi, right? It's way lower
Low
class than
budget.
those two. Yeah, exactly, way lower budget than those two. But that's part of the fun. The other thing I think that for me is I've always been very like self-conscious about how much text I put on the page. I write a lot of dialogue, and I use a lot of narrative captions. I've always been very self-conscious about it, and I have heard people refer to me as overwritten, which I took very personally. And but with this book, I started thinking. I was reading a lot of Bendis. I was reading a lot of Bendis's crime, his creator on crime stuff he did. I was reading, Jinx and Goldfish and Torso and all those books, and I was like watching a Tarantino movie or something that was like nonstop dialogue, and I went, you know what? Fuck it. Who cares? Bendis does it. Tarantino does it. Like nobody fucking shits on them. Like who cares? I'm just gonna do what I do, and I did it, and that was very freeing to me to just say, okay, we're just gonna, I'm just gonna write this book the way I want to write it, and that was a big moment for me.
Oh yeah.
Also, as a compliment to Scott, his dialogue is like one of my favorite parts of his writing. So it's like one of the best things that I think I've ever done because it's complemented with his work. So
yeah, and the thing is too, like with the way we work together, you know, I know I can rely on Liana to deliver a lot of body language that negates needing dialogue, right? Or reduces the amount of dialogue that might otherwise be needed. And sort of figuring that out too really helped free up going back and cleaning up the early issues, maybe that we had done by the time I sort of figured this out, and really making the last issues really pop, is that relationship between the art and the dialogue, and having that being able to, knowing that she would be able to deliver exactly what's in my head, deliver it better than it's in my head, but deliver what's in my head so that I don't actually have to put any dialogue in.
Oh yeah, I that's what I was going to mention. It's I really did love the narrative throughout the panels. It was really refreshing. Because having the thoughts of your character going through what's going on, it's really good, at least for my taste
Mhm.
of when I'm reading a comic book, and letting it be some type of story that it's leaning on a lot with your main character. It having
Mhm.
the narrator, like a narrator, my bad, is really good, and it's really like refreshing to have that, both sides of like the
Mhm.
story, what he's thinking and what's going on the moment in the panel. So I want to go ahead and ask Liana one question. So Gab Contreras is the colorist for the series. Liana, how does that process go for you as the artist? How much creative input do you provide to that creative side of the process?
I'm really lucky in that Gab and I have worked together on a lot of things previously, anthologies, books, things like that. So I don't have to give much direction or notes because her and I have very similar styles, or at least like in terms of what we like colored. So I think that's why she was like a really easy choice with this series. And also, you know, we wanted to go with a little bit of a brighter feel than a typical noir, you know, dark colors for like crime heist stuff. We wanted to make it bright and poppy because, you know, for somebody like Scott and I are big comic collectors, we're comic readers and stuff like that. And I think if we can integrate both, you know, everyone's different style on the team to like bring their own feel to it, I think it'll cast a lot larger net in terms of audience base. And I think that Gab definitely does that with her colors. So I gotta say that's all her. The only thing I really did was choose the colors. I mean, I think her and I both worked together on choosing like the fast food branding colors. That's about it. I mean,
yeah, I think I recall at the beginning, you and I talked before we had a colorist, we talked about what we wanted to look like. And we said, we want neons. And I was like, yeah, but don't forget, like the old style, like Allison's uniform is an old Burger Lord uniform. So it's like orange and brown, right? And like, we kind of talked about that, but I was thinking like, I don't know how you make neons and orange and brown look good together. Like, I don't know how that's possible. And then Gab did it. And, you know, I was like, wow, okay, like this is the perfect choice for the book because this is amazing, right? Like she really she really brought it. It was great.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
I gotta say, I really do like the colors. And when I'm like, oh, this is it's the type of like a heist comic, and it's like bright colors. I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? But it's really fun and great. So I have a question for Scott here. So Scott, there's a deep layer to this story that are just hinted at for now. How much can you reveal about that?
You know, not much. You know, we want you to read the book, but yeah, it's there's a lot happening in the book, and it's interesting that you pick up on a lot of the little details that are happening on all the panels. All of that is super intentional. One of our goals with this book was that it could be very readable and rereadable. We really wanted people to get their money's worth, and I think like you can go back and read it 2 and 3 times and pick up on little things every time, either in the story or in the artwork or in the dialogue or in some scene. And there's a lot of seeds in the dialogue. And like, for instance, there's in the opening of issue 2, there's a little thing that's mentioned, and it's the very last of issue 5, we find out what it actually means, right? Like, so there's a lot of these little seeds that carry across, and then you think, wait, what is he talking about? I remember that. You go back and you look and like, oh my God, that was, you know, I think like it's funny, we put so much stuff in the book that I was saying the other day, I was looking at the proof for issue 4, I think, or 4, I think, and I saw something Liana had put in it that I had never noticed, and I'd read it, I don't know, 100 times, and I was like, oh my God, right? Like I was like laughing, right? I was like, how did I never see this, you know? Because you know, when you're reading it, you're, as the creator, you're very specifically looking for things, and you're looking at everything at once, right? And I was just almost reading it like a reader at that point because it had been a while, and I was like, oh my God, you know. So I'm hoping that readers will have that same response, that they'll be able to keep reading it, and then, you know, a year from now they'll pick it up and read it again and go, oh my God, and, you know, just keep finding little things.
So I'm gonna piggyback on that answer of Scott. So I'm a comic book collector as well. I love collecting variants. It could be because it's a specific artist, or because I do like the artwork of the comic book. So I did notice that in the first issue, both covers have like little like, I would say, Easter eggs or little details that you will see throughout the panels of the comic. So are we going to see that as well in other variant covers of the next upcoming issues?
I think so.
I would say absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. The art, all the variant cover artists were picked by us. And they were just given the issues and said, go, you know, turn loose, you know, and we've been blown away by every single cover. Is just like amazing. Like, I think everyone's taking that same energy of like, how much weird stuff can I pack in here to, you know, to populate the covers. And there's actually there's a each issue has a fourth cover that a variant you can only get through ordering directly from IDW that Liana drew. And those all connect when you
Oh
line them up.
wow,
Yeah, they're
that's
beautiful.
amazing.
Yeah, so
Amazing.
there's actually four for each book.
There's
No,
actually
that's great.
it's written by Scott, if you can believe that, a variant cover written by Scott. So we collaborated on the covers, and
Yeah.
you won't want to miss getting all of them because there's a surprise at the end. So
Yeah,
Also, all the connecting variants have like a surprise at the end
there's
as
a
well.
story. Yeah, there's a story on them,
kind
and
of,
there's
yeah.
a
Mind
visual
blown.
a visual surprise. Yeah, a
Mhm.
visual surprise. We wanted to
Whoa.
make it worth. Again, we wanted to make it worth people's money and time, because they were asking us about this exclusive cover, and we probably spent an hour, 2 hours on the phone talking, trying to figure out who we could get to do this book. And I finally just went, what the fuck is wrong with this? I was like, you're going to draw the variant. Like, this is your book. Like, you draw this is yours, and I said and let's make them connecting, right? So then it just has that little extra special thing to connect them. And then I just said, I'll write a script so that they can all go together. So that's what we did.
Mhm.
Okay. I oh god. Now I need to see them together. I need to know this story already. Me being a comic book collector, I love connecting variants. So just knowing about that, oh god, whoever's watching us, just get those connecting variants. Come on. So I wanted to focus a little bit more on Marty. So just a man aimlessly going on about life. Why set him on the path of purpose only to rattle the cage of something or someone he did not want to be part of?
I mean, I think you don't have a story without that, like in the first issue, the main character, Marty, he's the one who pulls off this heist. He's a fast food worker, pulls off the heist, and he ends up, you find out, running afoul of some people and doing so. I mean, that's a classic crime genre setup, right? The finding the bag of money and then dealing with the people, whatever. Like, that's a classic, crime setup. But the way you put your spin on it is you make these characters who are not people you would normally see in a crime movie or read about in a crime novel.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna go ahead and piggyback with this one. So I noticed that when you go to page 5 and 6, those panels when he is doing the heist, you do see that his interaction with the people are like very human like. Especially, for example, one of the main examples that I have here is that when he goes to the comic book store, he goes ahead and asks the rep, like, are those old comics worth anything? And he's like, no, they're not worth anything. So are we going to see like this type of interaction in the future issues of True Cult?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's not a monster. He's not an asshole. He's a criminal, but he's not what you think of in either criminal. He's very polite, right? Like, that's his fast food background of the customer is always right and being polite even in the face of some awful customer, right? That's sort of his attitude.
Okay, so going to now Marty and Allison. You guys can both answer the question. So they're poised to be like the dynamic duo of the comic book story. So are we going to expect more of these two, like a dynamic duos in the future issues?
Yeah, I mean, it's Marty and Allison are teamed up. They're really central to the story, and they're teamed up for most of what follows, with the third character, Bernice, playing a major role as well. And then there's a few other characters who come up later in the book too, who play smaller but equally important roles. So yeah, it's I think it's important with uh I think it's important with a book like ours that uses humor the way it does. There's got to be two people to make it work, right? Like, If you're
Mhm.
just inside Marty's head the whole time, it's not that interesting, right? But if you have him being able to play off of someone else, that becomes interesting, right? And so he plays off of like Bernice, who's the adult, who's the grown up in the room, who doesn't have time for his shit, right? But is also immensely fond of him. But then he also plays off of Allison, who in many ways is just like him but weirder. So
Mhm.
it creates a weird, depending on who he's paired with, it creates a different dynamic for the book, and that's something that we played with a lot.
And I think there's a
Okay.
lot of characters that you'll see over the next couple of issues too that you don't know what to expect.
Okay. So wanted to ask both of you if by any chance you did mention that True Cult will be like a mini series. By any chance, when this mini series ends, will we get to see future iterations of True Cult, like other like spin-offs stories to add on to what you guys presented it on this one?
I think
I,
I'm not sure how. I think both of us don't know how to answer that question because we have a lot of ideas in terms of. I mean, there's actually already plans for a lot of content around the world of this specific story. So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, but there's just like a lot of opportunity there.
Yeah, there's a ton of backstory, and there's a lot of things that I developed for the book, that when I was writing it and figuring it out that we never used. Um, there are things we could do. I don't know if we ever will. This one feels to me like it stands on its own, but who knows?
Mhm.
I could change my mind. I mean, Liana and I are definitely going to work together much more. There's more things. We have another thing we're already starting on, so there's
Yeah,
definitely more coming from us. Whether it's True Call related, I'm sure there will be nods to True Cult in whatever we do, going forward. But as for now, this is the self-contained story. Yeah.
yeah, perfect
That's
for
amazing.
collectors. Get all 5
Mhm.
and you're done.
Yeah.
Get in, get out. Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. So I wanted to ask you guys. I know that both of you, throughout your careers, I've seen that you guys have worked in many stories and many mini series or anthologies, like Liana mentioned. So, do you guys have like a pertaining character that's already out there, or a pertaining story that you guys want to like just touch bases with your creativity?
Like something like a DC character or something that we would
Exactly,
want to work
like
on.
example, in IDW we have Ninja Turtles, we have
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Transformers, GI
yeah, yeah.
Joe.
Mhm.
So do you guys
Right.
have like a specific character or just a story that you guys want to like just touch bases in and put your creativity on it?
Yeah, I mean,
I
for
would.
me, sorry, for me, I would love to write. I would love to write Archie. Um, I just have been an Archie fan my whole life, and my daughter loves Archie. I would love to do something with Archie. But then I would also like to. I would also. I think somebody asked me this recently, and I said Gotham Central is a book I would love to write. If you remember that book from DC that was about Gotham City Police Department, I would love to write that book for sure.
That sounds like such a you book. I would buy that so fast. I think too, it's cool to see Scott do DC stuff because I've been a big DC fan and I'd love to do like either Tim Drake, Dick Grayson, or Birds of Prey stuff. Like I really love the trio of that kind of stuff. Or
Mhm.
I'd love to do more Star Wars stories. After the one that I did with Luke and Leia with Sam Maggs, I'm like, that universe is so endless, even if it
Mhm.
was just for my own personal or published, so.
Okay, that's great. So leaning a little bit to the creative process and how everything you guys been working together. So when the pandemic happened, how was it that you guys got to work with True Cult from that time of the pandemic to now that there is a little bit much more accessibility on meeting together, like in a pub or a comic book store to, you know, spin out more ideas to your project?
Mhm.
Well, we actually, when we started True Call, we actually lived in the same area prior to, and when we started it, I had actually moved away across the country. So I would say the only benefit now with being able to go to cons and stuff is that we actually get to meet fans and connect with everybody now that IDW has given us this like really cool platform to share the story with a lot more people. But obviously it's going to be really cool this week. Scott and I are actually meeting in person to do a signing, and Emerald City Comic Con, we're going to be tabling next to each other for the first time. So it's kind of come full circle in the sense that we were all in our offices self-isolating during the pandemic, unsure of what this would ever be. And now it's like a dream come true on the other side of things. So
yeah, it's funny. It's funny because, you know, we talk pretty much every day. So it's not like I don't think about it in terms of like, oh, it's so far away. Like we talk all the time.
yeah.
But like I was just thinking, like when we're at Emerald City next week, that'll be the first time. Oh no, I saw you like a year ago. Never mind. I was gonna say it's the first time I'd seen you since like New York Comic Con 2018 or something, but like it isn't, because I saw you when we did the in New York
Yeah, I had a
when you were up
live
here recently.
podcast.
The live podcast. I
Recording
saw you for that.
briefly.
Yeah. But still, that was
Um,
like a year ago, right? So it was like,
and
you
it
know,
was like 10 minutes. So
and it was
I
like
was
10
like,
minutes, right? It was a very
this
short
is the
like
redo
hangout,
in my mind.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. That's why I didn't remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
no,
true though. We do talk like all the time. I mean,
yeah.
but we've been working on True Call like nonstop since it started, whether it be like the pages or like it's something else, like with, signing with
Kickstarter,
IDW or like,
signing
yeah.
deals. Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Okay.
So
That's amazing. I hope that when you guys go ahead and meet for the first time, have a great time over there in the Emerald City Comic Con. So
thanks.
my next question would be, I know that myself and everybody loves variant covers, plus you guys giving us the hint of like the the 5-issue connecting variant. So I know that Scott mentioned and Liana as well mentioned that you guys chose the artists to make the variant covers. So we have a lot of artists around the world. Some of them are very, very known. Some of them are still like, you know, hidden in a place that they have not yet been able to shine. But if you guys would have had a chance to choose a specific artist to make a cover for True Cult, do you guys have anybody in mind that would have been like great to be added in this project?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I think our original
Yeah.
list we sent was like 20 people because it's
Yeah.
like hard to
Wow.
know who's busy or who's like, can work with the budget or like who's booked already and stuff. So
Yeah, it was funny because we spent a lot of time talking about the variant covers, and it's insane. Like everybody is so busy. So we finally were just like, why don't we just ask our friends, because they're amazing and they will make time for us. Even if they don't have time, they'll make time and they'll do a cover for us. So that was
Yeah.
the benefit of like basically calling in favors from our friends. Like, hey, can you draw a variant for us? Right. Like, so that was great. So we have some amazing stuff too.
yeah, the I'll owe you one is always a good call.
Other than the B covers, which are all by Maria Yovet, I think is how you say her last name. We didn't know her prior at all, but we loved her work. We were big fans of the book Faithless. She did with that she does with Boom
and Porcelain and stuff.
And we were like, what about can we ask her and see? And then she was like, I'm in, let's do it. So she was great. But then all the C covers are just friends we called and said, hey, let's do something. So
that's amazing. So Scott and Liana, so besides the release of True Cult that will be on August 17th, that it will be available in, I imagine that in digital and as well in your local comic book store. Do you guys have any ongoing projects? I know that you both mentioned that you are working on something. Can you give us any hints or any details of what both of you are doing for future prior to True Cult's release?
Yeah, I actually have an Archie one shot coming out in a couple months called The Chilling Adventures of Sorcery. Casey Gilly wrote it, and it's a blast. You definitely want to pick that up. I'm currently working on an unannounced project, but you can pick up my other books like True Cult that's coming out this week, as well as Joan Jett and the Black Hearts, the Z2 graphic novel that I did with Jasmine Stone, who's actually with us on True Cult, as well as TKO Seeds of Edenism, the TKO Tales of Terror. Blacksmith that I did all the variant covers for is out in trade paperback as well. And if you can get your hands, Razor Blades is actually coming out this week as well.
Yeah, don't forget that. That's a big one.
Yeah, Shortcuts, small cuts, short special. I might have that wrong. You can get the single issue or the hardcover this week, I think. So that's a huge one with James Tynan, Steve Fox, and Hassan, who all did my story. So yeah, that's a lot of books.
How about you, Scott?
So yeah, the Pennyworth series I did for DC, the trade is just out, I think a week or two ago. The Altered Carbon graphic novel I did for Dynamite is also recently out, as is Savage Tales from Dynamite. I have more Savage Tales coming out too. I have some more stuff from DC coming out. And then a graphic novel adaptation of Neil Gaiman and Michael Reeves' Inner World is coming from HarperCollins, but that's like 3 years from now, so don't get too excited. And then other than that, I have another creator-owned book coming out that I can't talk about, and then this book with Liana that we're chipping away at as well. So there's a lot of stuff happening.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm really happy for both of you that you guys have so many projects going in and out, and that's really great. I really do hope that whoever picks up True Cult on the 17th enjoys it. I know that Scott and Liana will be paying attention to social media just to see the feedback. At least for me, I really did love the first issue. Can't wait to see what happens in issue 2 and on. So I'm just stoked. And obviously, the variant cover, I need to have it. So as soon as it's released, I'm gonna search for it like that. I can have it in my collection. So Liana, Scott, thank you very much for giving us that little time. I know you guys are super busy, but thank you very much for giving us your time to interview you. And I hope that when this comic book releases this prior week, everything goes into success. And I hope you guys have an amazing, great rest of your day.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having us on.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, no worries. That's why we're here.
See ya.